It was supposed to be the first day of his senior year. Marty Tankleff was 17. He'd turned 17 just the week before. And on the morning of September 7th, 1988, he walked out of his bedroom in his family's home on Long Island, and he found his mother on the floor. She was already gone. Down the hall, in the home office, his father was slumped over, still breathing, barely, with stab wounds across his body. Marty did everything right. He called for help. He followed the dispatcher's instructions and pressed a towel to his father's wounds, trying to keep him alive until the ambulance came. When the police pulled up, he ran out to meet them, and he told them the first thing that came to mind. Talk to my dad's business partner. The man owed his father $500,000. He'd been in that very house the night before, playing cards, and he'd left late. The police listened. Then they asked Marty to come down to the station, just to talk, just to help them understand what happened. He was a kid who'd lost his mother that morning and was about to lose his father. Of course, he said yes. He went in without a lawyer, without a parent, without the faintest idea of what an interrogation actually is. And that decision is the reason I'm telling you this story. For hours, detectives sat across from him, not comforting a grieving teenager, working him. And at some point, they decided they had their man, and they reached for a tool that, in this country, is perfectly legal. One of the detectives left the room, came back, and told Marty that his father had woken up at the hospital, that he'd surfaced from the coma just long enough to say one thing, that he'd named his own son as the person who attacked him. None of it was true. Seymour Tankleff never woke up. He never spoke another word. He died weeks later without ever opening his eyes. The detective made it up, sitting across the table from a 17-year-old, and watched what it did to him. I want you to sit with how strange that is, because most people have no idea. In the United States, the police are allowed to lie to you in an interrogation. They can tell you they found your fingerprints when they didn't. They can tell you a witness saw you when no one did. They can tell you your own dying father accused you. The courts have signed off on this for more than 50 years. It is a normal, accepted part of how interrogations work. So picture it. You're 17. You haven't slept. You found your parents this morning. The two people who anchored your entire world are gone or dying, and the adults in the room, the people with badges, are telling you your father's last act on earth was to name you. And Marty did what a frightened, exhausted, grieving kid might do. He started to wonder if he was losing his grip on reality. He asked them, out loud, "Is it possible I did this and don't remember? Could I have blacked out?" He didn't confess. He wondered. But that wondering, spoken aloud in a room with no lawyer in it, was enough. The detectives took that flicker of doubt and built a confession around it. Marty recanted within hours. He spent the next 2 decades insisting he was innocent. It didn't matter. Because here's what should have mattered, and didn't. The house showed signs of a real fight. Whoever did this struggled with 2 adults, and Marty didn't have a mark on him. Not a bruise, not a scratch. The details in the so-called confession didn't line up with the scene. There was no blood on him, no weapon tied to him, no physical evidence at all. The entire case against him was built out of words. Words pulled from a teenager by professionals who were allowed to deceive him. In 1990, a jury believed those words. They convicted Marty Tankleff of murdering both of his parents and sent him to prison for 50 years to life. He was 19 years old. And he could have disappeared there. Most people would have. Instead, from inside a prison cell, he started fighting, and he didn't stop. He wrote letters by the thousands. His aunts and uncles spent their savings on a private investigator. And piece by piece, year by year, the truth they'd handed the police on day 1 started coming back into the light. The business partner, the debt. Witnesses who'd stayed quiet began to talk. In December of 2007, after Marty had served 17 years, an appeals court looked at everything and unanimously threw his conviction out. The following year, prosecutors dropped every charge. New York eventually paid him millions for what it took from him. But that's not the part of this story I think about. Marty Tankleff walked out of prison, and instead of walking away from the system that swallowed him, he went straight into it. He went to college, he went to law school, he passed the New York bar, and in 2020, he stood up and was sworn in as an attorney in the same courthouse that had once set him free. The kid who sat in that interrogation room without a lawyer spent the rest of his life becoming one. So I want to leave you with the part that's actually about you, because that's why this channel exists. The first thing to understand is the one most people don't. The police can lie to you, legally, and they're trained to. About evidence, about witnesses, about what someone in the next room supposedly said. Once you know that, you hear an interrogation completely differently. The second thing is that being innocent will not save you. Marty was innocent. It didn't stop any of this. Some of the people sitting in prison right now on false confessions were telling the truth the whole time. I have nothing to hide is not a plan. And the third thing is the only thing you actually need to remember. If you're ever in that room, there is one sentence that ends it. I'm going to remain silent, and I want a lawyer. Say it plainly. Then stop talking and mean it. Not, maybe I should get a lawyer. Not, do you think I need one? Courts have thrown out cases where people were too polite to be clear. Say it directly, and then say nothing else. That isn't you being difficult, and it isn't you looking guilty. It's you using a right that exists precisely because of what happened to a 17-year-old on the worst morning of his life. Quick note before you go. This is education, not legal advice, and the specifics vary from state to state. If you're facing something real, talk to an actual attorney. And if this is the first time anyone's told you the police are allowed to lie to your face, send it to one person who ought to know. That's the whole point. I'll have my sources in the pinned comment, and there's a new one of these every week.